Singeli, and Geoff, I mean, do you find yourself within the New York Times having to, or being called upon to, kind of advise print reporters about how to, go into a story, go into interviews, thinking about, how to film them, how to record them, how, gathering material that's in front of them, not just with a pen and paper?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a very different way of thinking and way of approaching an interview specifically, because you have to always be thinking about what you need the subject to say, really. Like, so it's less about information that can happen off camera, and it's more about sort of a holistic sort of expression of what the scene needs to say. It's everything gets so condensed in a film. I mean, you can't write. I think one of the things we really struggled with early on with the weekly is sort of overwriting, over narrating, because essentially it was like trying to turn a print article into film, and that doesn't work. So I think a big part of the process was like learning to take, helping the Times sort of learn to take the narration out. And so, yeah, I think it's a lot of my job as a filmmaker was to sort of help make that jump from print to something that worked on film, that really carried the story narratively and visually.
And
Yeah,
Geoff,
I just wanted to say real quick, and just going off of that, I wanted to say, like, and oftentimes, making sure that, the people's words that they're saying, and like listening to the space in between the words, and making sure that they had that space. Or you referenced the look that Hussein gives after Rukmini asked the question, like making sure that makes it into the piece is like, well, that, that's that look is just as important as the words. So, and making sure that comes through.
So, if one were to walk into the New York Times newsroom now, does print still occupy prime position then there in the big newsroom, or is it much more of a mix now? And are people sitting? Is video, audio? Are these like different areas of the New York Times, very different areas of the newsroom, or are things much more integrated at this point?
Well, Vivienne, I don't think any of us have stepped into the New York Times newsroom since March.
That is
this is my perspective, and maybe my colleagues disagree, but I do think that print is still the main business, of the New York Times. And by print, I don't mean the print paper, but I mean the written story. That is still the main thing that is discussed at the page one meeting, etc. But at the same time, the audio division has grown in leaps and bounds. Back when we were doing Caliphate, I think they had 6 or 7 employees, and now they have several dozen. And same with the video element. But I'm curious to hear what Geoff and Singeli think about that.
Yeah, Geoff, since you're in New York, I'm curious, how do you see it? Or do you feel like an adjunct to what's to the the real business at hand at the New York Times? Or
I mean, everything, we're all still very siloed into what we're doing. Like, I don't really have visuals on what else happens over there, so it's hard for me to even say. We are knee deep in the New York Times Presents every day. It's hard to say what else is even happening for me, from my perspective.
I think the reporting is central, but there's a real acknowledgement of the power of film, and in this day and age, that the Times has really embraced that. But the reporting is still central.